interesting week, guys. It feels like we're ending kind of with a little bit of a whimper. Looking at the Nasdaq, went down about 0.4%, but the stocks, Scarlet, those headlines on NVIDIA, some concerns, that's been under pressure all day, but the stocks is down about 1.6% here today.
Yeah, that's definitely the one I'm paying attention to. But Carol, I can't believe you didn't mention the Golden Dragon Index yet.
It's only been 30 seconds.
Gainers to come.
You know what's interesting is Bank of America, Hartnett was talking about sort of if you have 10-year Chinese yields stay around 2%, that's really the green light into the unloved stuff, unloved commodities, industrials, metals, materials, and international stocks.
Yeah, absolutely here. A mixed day here on Wall Street, though, as we're going to talk a lot about here on a weekly basis here, we are looking at pretty strong gains across the board. The Dow Jones Industrial Average on the day is going to be higher, up about 130 points or so, roughly about 0.3%. Of course, also posting a third straight week of gains. The S&P 500 up about down about 0.1% on the day. The Nasdaq down about 0.4% here on the day. But the Russell 2000 actually an outperformer here on the day, up about 7/10%. Dow Transports up a similar amount. And we should just reiterate one more time, Carol, across the board, the Dow, the S&P, the Nasdaq indices, and the Russell all posting a third straight week of gains.
Yeah, pretty amazing, right? The strength and momentum that we've been seeing as of late. I'm going to go back to the S&P 500 overall, guys, and most names, or a majority of the names, higher in today's session. 335 gaining ground on this Friday. You've got about 165 losing ground, and then Scarlett, you had 3 unchanged.
Yep, and you look at the IMAP that shows the S&P 500's 11 sectors. It's a real mix there. Tech, obviously, the biggest sector in the index, leading decliner here, losing 1%. You mentioned NVIDIA earlier. That's a big reason why. Materials actually losing about 0.25%, even though they do finish the week as your best performers. For today, energy stocks finishing in the green, up by better than 2%, recouping yesterday's declines. And of course, as oil prices move up now today.
All right, guys, let's get to some of the individual gainers. Number one in the S&P 500, Wynn Resorts, a gain of more than 7%. And in fact, it looks like it is the best performing name in the S&P 500 for the week overall, with about a 22% gain. So we've seen some significant moves in that one. So again, 7% higher. Morgan Stanley raising its rating to overweight, citing a combination of near low valuation and an underappreciated opportunity in the UAE, so United Arab Emirates. They set a price target of $104 a share, the stock closing at $97.62 a share. All right, Rocket Lab. Thank you, Tim, giving me this one. At its highs, up more than 18%, finishing the day at a gain of about 12.5% here. KeyBank Capital Markets analysts raising the target to $11 from $8 a share. The stock closing at just under 10, maintaining its overweight rating. The analyst continues to believe that the company is positioning itself to be an industry leader in both launch services and satellite manufacturing design. Stock is up about 75% here in 2024. We spoke with the CEO and founder, Peter Beck.
They're trying to be a SpaceX competitor.
They are.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting, and you can find that on our podcast feed in case you're interested.
Ooh, nice.
And this, as Scarlett mentioned, the Nasdaq Golden Dragon China
there it
Index.
is.
Yay! Up 4% in today's session. And we know, rallying again in today's session, I should say. That index is up, guys, about 24% for the week overall. Chinese equities capping their biggest weekly rally since 2008. The trading in Shanghai, so overwhelming. They had some problems really processing all of those orders. And we know that there's been a massive round of different types of stimulus. The Chinese government really coming out to support the equity markets and real estate and so on and so forth. David Tepper coming out and saying he's buying more of everything related to China after Beijing rolled out those sweeping stimulus measures. That's what you missed this week, China stimulus.
Well, speaking of Beijing, kind of a good segue to my first decliner, NVIDIA. Shares of NVIDIA falling by about 2.2% today. This after Bloomberg reported that Beijing is stepping up pressures on Chinese companies to buy locally produced AI chips instead of NVIDIA products. It's part of the nation's effort to expand its semiconductor industry and counter those U.S. sanctions. After the Bloomberg News story came out, shares dropped as much as 3.85%, but bounced off those lows to close lower by 2.2%. The move designed to help domestic Chinese AI chip makers gain more market share while preparing local tech companies for any potential additional U.S. restrictions. This is according to people familiar with the matter. And shares of Costco falling today by 1.75%. The company did post higher than expected profit as moderating prices fueled consumer spending. Store traffic also climbed. We got the company did report a narrow miss on revenue estimates. We did get some interesting commentary from the CFO, who said that as inflation cools, shoppers are purchasing more non-food items. So think home furnishings and tires sold particularly well, he said. Consumer electronics and appliances, he said, were actually getting cheaper. And finally, ADRs of Novo Nordisk here in the United States fell 2.85%. This after JP Morgan analyst Richard Vosser said Novo's third quarter results may show slower than expected sales of their weight loss drug Wegovy. Novo's now trading about 20% below June's record high. It's lost about 1 trillion Danish kroner. That's about $150 billion in market value. We do get the next report from Novo this coming November.
All right, I'm taking a look at the bond market. Before I get there, though, guys, I want to point out SPW, the equal weighted index, closing at a record high. I'm just putting that out there. S&P couldn't make it, closing a little negative. SPW definitely did. That's 20 record highs so far this year. Bond market also seeing a bid. You're seeing yields lower, 2-year yield down by about 6 basis points, the 10-year yield down by about 4. That curve coming in at about 19 basis points. But guys, treasuries are looking at 5 straight months of gains. This will be the longest winning streak since 2010 if we can continue this rally come Monday.
All right, guys. So let's get to some of the interesting stories on our radar. And I feel like we're taking cues.
Are you dancing? Was Romaine dancing?
I was. I didn't realize I was on camera. Yeah, the penguin dance.
You're always on camera.
Shout out
Romaine.
to Tony Kornheiser. Yeah.
How you dance? Come on,
Yeah.
everybody.
Romaine on Friday, everyone.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, they're not dancing in the Swiss Alps. And I feel like in this New York, I don't mean to be such a bummer, but this New York Climate Week, looking overseas to what they're doing over in Switzerland, the Alps there, Tim, actually, this came up on your radar. They're tweaking the border because of climate change.
Yeah, so climate change is melting the glaciers that have historically marked the frontier between Switzerland and Italy. So the government of Switzerland said in a statement today, significant sections of the border are defined by the watershed or the ridge lines of glaciers, firn or perpetual snow. These formations are changing due to the melting of glaciers. Europe's the fastest warming continent. And there's some serious border-changing implications of this.
Can I tell you, I almost caused an international incident at that border.
You did?
Yeah, we went skiing, and
Love this.
and there's a part where you can ski across the border, but we forgot our passports.
And they checked?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really?
I mean, yeah. You don't like literally just ski across. I mean, there's a checkpoint.
Really?
Yeah, but it's like a whole thing. Like you go up. There's a specific
because it's
slope.
EU versus Switzerland,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
Eurozone versus Switzerland.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. That must have been quite an
Lucky you're
experience.
here, Roman.
I mean, I think we're nice about it, and
You're always causing
they just shoot us
problems,
back up
aren't
on
you?
the.
They're just like, oh, look at those dumb Americans.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
go.
Well,
Goodbye.
speaking of experiences that don't always come out the way you planned, there was something that took place in Detroit called the Bridgerton Ball, which was meant to evoke the hit Netflix show, except it didn't go off at all.
Oh, that looks lit. Oh,
yeah, I mean, everyone's dressed up in their finest Regency wear, and
like so happy.
I mean, look at that. There's no tables there, and here they are. This is a
No
TikTok
chairs
actually
either.
talking
Is that a
about
real
how it
room?
didn't
Right?
go well.
What is that?
But there was no ball. There was a pole dance.
What? Oh.
There's a pole
Really?
dancer, yeah, instead.
Okay.
Pole dancer's name was Lady Whistledown.
No.
Oh, really?
Really? Wow.
That's too far.
Okay.
That's actually pretty funny. But just so those of you who haven't seen it, Bridgerton is not about pole dancing.
No.
So thinking
I have not seen the
like,
show.
Yes, essential background information. Thank you, Alex.
Thinking like, Elizabethan time. Well, not as
So this
Elizabethan time, but-
this seems like it has like little undertones of like Fire Fest, or I don't know if you saw that Willy Wonka thing where it was like literally like they just like got like a 5-year-old off the street and like put him in an Oompa Loompa costume.
Okay, to be fair, none of these were officially affiliated with Netflix or Bridgerton. It was some like local event company putting on
$150 a
Bridgerton
ticket though.
show. Yes.
What?
$150 a ticket.
Wow.
Did
And
you
you
guys-
go, I mean,
Did they get refunds?
Did you see the one TikTok
No.
quote? Every backdrop looks like it came from Party City.
Probably did.
that hurts. That hurts.
A
That
little
really
bit of
hurts.
shade. Little bit of shade. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Have a Bridgerton weekend.
Yeah.
If only.
I am
Charlotte
so
was really
with
good,
you.
by the way.
Yeah, Queen Charlotte was great. Super
If
good.
only.